Hello and welcome back to the Airing It Out podcast. I am your Sam and it's nice to see you again, or hear you, whichever one you're listening on. It's nice that you're here with us. Today's episode, we're talking about ways that you can improve your diet or perhaps be more conscious consumers. Why do you say it in that way? I don't know, but you'll have to listen and find out, my dear friends. On with the episode. Nowadays, consumption doesn't just mean putting things in our mouths. It has a lot broader of a context, doesn't it? But when you look up in the Oxford Dictionary consumer in the kind of context that we're talking about, it doesn't come up with anything. And the context that I'm talking about is when we take a moment to pause and reflect on all the things that we consume. Sure, food is definitely one of them. I was thinking about ways in which I consume. And I consume food, of course. But I also consume social media. I also consume stuff on YouTube, or whether it be on Netflix, or video games. And that's the kind of context that we're talking about. So when we do look up consume in the Oxford Dictionary, we have eat, drink, or ingest, or an alternative definition, buy, goods or service, but nothing so much as the ways in which we've so commonly come to understand consumption now, through media, through television, through books, the ways beyond just food that we take or we consume. However, when we search up what a consumer is, so we have to consume, but when we search what a consumer is, we have a couple more interesting definitions. A person who has purchased goods and services for personal use, and a person or thing that eats or uses something. So when we look at a consumer, we open up the definitions in the context to something a bit more wider than food, something that we've come to be accustomed to in our more capitalistic society, where we buy and we consume. Now you may be wondering, I thought this episode was about diet, and hang on with me, but this is something that I couldn't quite ignore, and I think it's become quite an interesting thought experiment now. In our rapidly expanding age of technology and capitalism, we, who are identified as consumers, might not fully yet understand or have adapted to understand the full breadth of what that might actually mean. We might not have fully understood all the implications and the effects of what it actually means to consume, or what this new meaning of consuming is. So what we're doing today is, of course, we're going to talk about ways that we can improve diet. But something interesting, this is Ben's idea actually, this episode, was how can ways that we can improve our diet also be reflected in the ways that we consume in the broader contexts of what consuming means now. And the results have been pretty interesting, I'll give you that, because a lot of them do apply and they're quite fascinating and easily applicable from consumption in one way to consumption in the new way. So our first tip to improving your diet is don't try and do it all at once. Remember, when we're taking meaningful changes and we want them to have impact and be sustainable, we can't expect them to work overnight. Like you can't want to drop however many kilos or put on however many kilos overnight. That doesn't work and it's not sustainable. Longer term, being consistent over a period of time and experimentation is the way that we can ensure steady progress rather than overnight results. I've learnt this many times. I've for a very long time had a hard and fast approach to whether it be losing weight or putting on weight. Lose silly amounts of weight in a fortnight, but then by the end of it I'm fucking miserable. I'm just desperate to have a fucking day off. So then, just, okay, 2 weeks, you lost a bunch of weight and now you're right back to square one because you hate yourself and you don't want to carry on with it anymore. But if we can find healthier alternatives, find decent reasons why, experiment, try different things out, trial and error, add one thing, take one thing away and see how these things adjust to our lifestyle, then that is a far better, longer term solution than trying to do it quick and easy. Now, how does that relate to the broader context of consumption? Good question, and you're in the right place to find the right answer. So if we were to be looking at spending less time scrolling or doom scrolling, we could say, okay, well, I want to spend less time on my phone. I want to spend less time consuming. I want to be more of a participant in the outside world. All right, well, okay, if you have a problem doing that, then try remove one thing, remove Instagram. If you spend 3 hours of the day watching YouTube videos, try remove YouTube videos. And I'm sure the vice versa would work. But instead of getting rid of it all at once and trying to expect it all overnight, take time, see what works, see which one is easier to get rid of, which one's harder to get rid of, which one you don't mind getting rid of, or which one you enjoy keeping to one side. Don't expect to do it overnight because then your body won't be able to adjust in time. It needs time to adapt. And in giving it that time to adapt, you can notice and see what kind of differences it's having on you as an individual. The next tip for improving your diet is the 80-20 rule. Now, this is something my mum's introduced me to, and it's try eat healthy, clean, high protein, decent carbs, 80% of the time, 80% of your meals, but afford yourself 20% of the time off of that. I think it was determined that 80% of your diet should be, goodness gracious, if 80% of your diet is clean and healthy, that is enough to sustain you to sustain a healthy lifestyle. But the other 20%, hey, if you're doing 4/5 of it healthy, I think you're allowed 1/5. Okay, let's look at that on the other side of the coin. So if we're looking at the 80-20 rule in the broader context of consumption, then let's take some time to reflect on what percentage of the stuff that we're consuming is beneficial to us. If 80% of the stuff that we consume is stuff that we genuinely want, have invested interest, that serves us and is good for us, what percentage is that? Is that the minority or is it the majority? There is so much rot out there, and don't get me wrong, a bit of entertainment, a bit of a laugh, like I don't like doom scrolling. I think it's personally a waste of my time, and I would much rather choose to do other stuff. But when I do have a little scroll, I do laugh and I end up sending stuff to my mates, and in moderation, that's what we're talking about. But how I would apply the 80-20 rule is I would think about 80% of the stuff that I consume. How can I create that to be stuff that serves me, that's beneficial to me? What's good for me? What would I benefit, or what would I enjoy from consuming, rather than just scrolling nothingness? But on the other hand, a bit of brain off time, a bit of switch off time, a bit of entertainment, sure. I don't think it will kill you. So what percentage of the stuff that we're consuming serves us versus what percentage of the stuff is actually not doing anything for us? Worth a thought. The next one comes from my own experiences with diet, in that something that helps me develop invested interest in what I'm eating, what I'm choosing to eat and consume, is what I call it helps to know, or in terms of diet, understanding macronutrients or beyond what you're faced with. So it might be looking up the ingredients, what's actually in it, what's not in it, how much of this thing is in it, and that works both ways. So I look at healthier foods and see all these amazing, there's this one channel on YouTube, Talon Fitness, He does ranked videos for nuts, meats, sweets, fruits, veg. He goes over all of them, each in their own category, and he ranks them based off of the macronutritional content of in each one of them. Like 100 grams, it's got this amount, and he just ranks them. Like, it's satisfying, easy watch. Something that you can just listen to in the background. But for me, it's also really fucking interesting, and I benefit from that because it helps me be a little bit more selective in what I choose. Oh, I know that's better for me, or I know that's not so good for me. But again, it's also looking at ultra processed foods. It's like with bread. So much bread now has a litany of ingredients, but bread should have 4 ingredients. Like, that's what bread needs. So what is the other stuff that's going in? And for me, that helps to know, because I like to eat healthy. I like to serve my body by giving it good stuff. Okay, other side of the coin. How does that affect the broader context? It helps to know. Again, this is a reflection one. So it's not what percentage of what we consume is good for us, but looking at the things that we are consuming and saying, is this good for us? What does this do for me? Look a little bit deeper than the consumption, because sometimes it's easy and it's what we want to just kind of switch off, have something in the background. Okay, but what if we were able to find something which we are genuinely interested in? What if instead of just having some background noise, it was something that caught our attention for the right kind of reasons? Alternatively, is this just rot? Is this just background noise? Is it there just so that I can have something in the background? Again, it's like moderation. It's fine if that's the case, but if you find yourself consuming loads and loads of stuff, but you're actually consuming loads of stuff that isn't good for you, and you're not interested in that, you don't really know why you've watched at the end of it, then maybe find something that is. What genuinely interests you? What can you fill that time with which serves you a little bit better? Our next tip is avoid impulse and adopt discipline. Okay, that's a pretty big one, particularly for mental well-being and mental resilience. Avoid impulse. Oh my God. The amount of impulse that is generated from food, whether it be fast food, snacking. My biggest problem is grazing. It's just grazing like a cow, like a bloody cow. If the food's there, I'll just graze on it. And that's just that impulse to, ooh, food, nice. But it's that, if we were able to take a second, stop, and move past that initial impulse, it's a lot easier for us to be like, okay, actually, no, I don't really want that. It's a lot easier to put up those barriers again between us and that and say, no, I'm kind of okay. And adopt discipline. It's what puts that barriers up. Discipline is how we impose those barriers. So adopt discipline and avoid impulse, because food, it's money, it's our health, it's what we're putting into it. Do we need it? Do we want it? Now, on the other side of the coin, Ben raised something with me a moment ago, is that he has this thing on his phone, and when we're talking about avoiding impulse, it's never been easier in the entirety of human existence to access this kind of pleasure, this kind of dopamine, like you find on social medias. And not only that, but social media has an entire algorithm. Like, the whole purpose of that algorithm is to show you exactly what you want to see. It's going to show you, it knows everything that you look for, everything that you spend time on, and as soon as you open that thing, it's going to give you exactly what you want. So, of course, you're going to want to spend a bit of time there, because you're thinking, oh, I've been given exactly what I ordered, or exactly what I want. But Ben was telling me he has this thing on his phone where if he taps on Instagram, it will wait 5 seconds and then be like, oh, okay, are you sure you want to open this? And it's putting that distance between you and that impulse. And that distance is what gives us that second to be like, actually, no, I'm all right, I'm okay, I'm good. I don't need that, or I don't want it. It's also about choosing what we consume versus what we don't consume. It's good to have in mind, okay, if I am to consume, what choices and what things would I want to see for my better self? It's one of those things, how can I improve myself? Or how can I nourish the things that I love through this consumption? Instead of just brain rotting and scrolling and finding, oh shit, I've just spent 45 minutes on my phone having done nothing. I say it like that's not the answer, but for some people it is. Some people want to spend a bit of time braining off and scrolling, and if that is, you do what you need to do. But I don't know, I advocate for moderation in terms of that. Go outside, touch grass, be part of the world. What scares me is that these things, for those of you listening, I'm holding up my phone to camera. I look at this thing and I see this is a vacuum of my life. This thing is being made, well, more so social medias than the actual phone itself. Those things are being made to take away the time that I have on this earth from actually doing and living and seeing, exploring, adventuring and living. Did I say living twice? The less time I spend on that and the more time I do out in the real world, to me that's more potential for life lived. Little side note, little tangent. This one's a little similar to the last one. However, there are some differences. And in terms of our diet, the tip itself is have a cleanse or decrease the access that you have to this thing. Now have a cleanse. Okay, so say you're kicking off a diet and you've seen it in shows before. It's that access, which is why it's similar to the last one. You get rid of all the things in your cupboard. You don't give yourself that access. I found that when I was at uni, I was only buying for myself the stuff that I knew that I wanted or needed to consume. There wasn't cakes lying around or food lying around that I could graze on and unnecessarily just put in my mouth. And I was a lot happier doing that. It gave me more structure. And it meant that there wasn't something to be impulsive to reach out and grab. I mean, of course you could go down the shop if you really feel like it, but not having it there on hand means that you're not going to be thinking, ooh, that's downstairs, or that's in the other room, or ooh. So decreasing that access, while also having a cleanse. So if you do have cupboards full of things that aren't great for you and that feel nice going in on the way down, but you feel terrible about yourself afterwards, maybe get rid of them, decrease that access. And how we can see that in terms of our new definition of consumption is access towards the things that we might not be wanting to do. So if we spend a lot of time doom scrolling, if we spend a lot of time on YouTube, if we spend a lot of time on Snapchat, chatting, texting, consuming, watching, whatever it is, and it's not within our best interest to do that. Okay, what can we do? We can decrease access. You can either get rid of the apps or do what I did on the dopamine detox, turn off notifications. Oh my goodness, you don't think about them after a day. They go away, they're gone. And yeah, put up those barriers between you and that thing. Make it harder for yourself to get to that thing where your brain tickles you and says, ooh, that sounds nice. Because it's what you want versus what you really want. Now this last one I'm going to leave you with is a bit of an open question in regards to both food and what we consume daily, habitually, on social medias or in technology. And it's more from the perspective of what it is that we are being fed rather than our consumption of it. And that is, I ask you this, listeners, what is the real cost of convenience? What price are you really paying? And on that note, we're going to be signing off. If you haven't already, please give us a like, a favourite, a subscribe on YouTube, and if you're on Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating. We have nearly got 100 whole subscribers on YouTube, and we are one rating off of 20 5-star reviews on Spotify. So please help us out. This is how we get our message out to the people, and this is how you can do your bit to help us. We want to do this full time. We want to do this more often, but while the podcast doesn't generate any income, we have to sustain ourselves in other ways. Please take care of yourself. Please be mindful. Please be conscious of those around you, and choose happiness. Take care. Lots of love. You're in our podcast, signing off.